Hello, Grizzlies, and welcome back to another episode of Grizzly True Crime. My name is Gisela K, and today we continue to talk about the Delphi case. I'm just going to take this banner off quickly. Thank you so much for being here. If you're a replay watcher as well, thank you for watching the replay in the future. If you're here live with us, thank you for being here live. Make sure that you hit the thumbs up and share the video, please. That's always helpful, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, or wherever you want to share it. It would really, really help as well. All right. Can you hear me? Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. All right. Okay, so what we're going to do today is look at the profile of a budding serial killer. I put it in inverted commas because the quote came from criminal profiler John Kelly and his Stalk Incorporated team's insight from 2020, 2 years before Richard Allen was arrested. It was incredible to watch. I love profiler John Kelly's channel, and going back over some of the older videos, just watching how him and his team literally created a criminal profile for Bridge Guy and how absolutely spot on it was. I'm like, wow, it just blew my mind. So I've been binge watching all of John Kelly. Shout out to profiler John Kelly. I've put the link to his channel in my description box, and he once gave me a really cool shout out too. That was awesome. So go and check it out. But for now, let's go over it. What I've been doing is taking a whole lot of notes and then summarizing everything, that they were saying in profiling him, which has been amazing. Here we go. So let's look at this. The picture right next to me is actually a picture of Richard Allen from when he graduated, I believe. I believe he was class of 1991. So yes, and wow, just to even see the three pictures like that. And what he is now. That's one of the most recent ones, mugshot. Wow. Yes, Richard says, John Kelly. John Kelly and his team are very awesome. I like criminal profilers, So, yes, if you don't know who John Kelly is, do you guys know? I really hope so. Wait, I had a tab open here before. Profiler John Kelly. Check him out. He's got a website, he's got a YouTube channel, and everything. Okay, just hold on 1 second. I just want to make sure that I'm ready to slow this down if I need to. All right. So if I show you this, look at this from 2 years ago, the summary of how they profiled Bridge Guy. I can't wait for him to have a new video so that we can see what he says now about Bridge Guy. Because, like, damn, I sent him an email today, like, you were spot on. Okay. So what I am going to do, because I can see there's lots of people joining in the chat, is I'm just going to put subscribers only mode on. All you got to do is subscribe for 1 minute, and then you can chat along with us. And if I need to, I'll put on slow mode, which does not apply to members, which is a pretty cool perk, actually. All right. His YouTube channel currently is in my description box. It's called Profiler John Kelly. I'll show you. Do I have it here? When I prepare everything, and then where is it? Profiler John Kelly. There you go. Oh, John Kelly Profiler. This one. You can see I've been watching everything. Yeah. I'm going to put this in the chat, so go check it out afterwards. Make sure you subscribe over there. All right. So I'm going to add this one back in. And this is what they said. This is how they profiled them. And just take notes how spot on this is, right? A sadistic killer, a budding serial killer, a visual predator, a white male, 5'8" to 5'10", 200 pounds, likely lives close by. So he's apparently around 5'7" from what we saw from the mugshot. So the height's almost correct, and yeah, likely lives close by. And remember, this is from 2020. This is from like June 2020 when they did this profile. He's an intelligent, organized killer, a predator, a hunter, a stalker. The fact that he took the girls a quarter of a mile away is unusual. It shows his detailed planning and sadism. Now, I hadn't thought of that before, really. I don't know why that didn't hit me. That is actually really to think that it's not like, spotting two girls, isolated, quick moment of opportunity, and okay, and then commit a crime close by. I mean, a quarter of a mile away, keeping control over them, obviously, as they said, obviously brandishing a weapon of sorts to keep them under his control, but to walk them more than a quarter of a mile away. Profiler John Kelly also said that time of year, sometimes the water is obviously a lot higher, right? And there was one video where he actually speculated they may have made a break for it. And that is a possibility, that he was leading them somewhere, maybe not intending to end up on Ron Logan's property across the creek, because one of Libby's shoes was actually on the bridge side of the creek where they'd gone down the hill. So I don't know if that's when they like made a break for it and decided to go across the creek, and he maybe followed them, obviously still with the weapon and all that. Maybe that wasn't the plan. I don't know. Okay, let me say this to everyone who joins membership today. Thank you so, so much. And if you support the channel with a super chat or sticker, thank you so, so much. Sometimes I'll just pop them on screen if I don't want to interrupt what I'm saying right now. But thank you so, so much. All right. So that is a possibility. But a quarter of a mile away, yeah, it shows also they were saying his sadism, like the level of violence, that he was going to inflict because he took them quite far away. Which they said was unusual, right? And then they talk about his primary intake sense. So there's 3 categories of the primary intake sense. It could be visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. Kinesthetic means feelings, and not just movement, like feelings, right? And so the profile they created was that he's a visual. His primary intake sense would be visual, and that he navigates the world visually. That he can function in society, for example, having a blue-collar job, such as a driver, or works in a hands-on, let me show you this, let me show you that kind of job. Well, that also panned out. He had actually been a driver before when he got married. We'll look at that a little later in this presentation. He was a driver before, a delivery driver for Mr. Steve's. And now, of course, we know that he worked at the CVS, the only pharmacy in Delphi. But you can imagine that as a shift supervisor and kind of working the floor, and talking to people, yeah, he probably would have been like, look at this and let me show you this. And, again, thank you a little bit for becoming a member. Okay. All right. I'm just looking at some of your messages there. Thank you for sharing. Justice for Abby and Libby as well. Yes. Okay. So they said he's not the average. What's up to BCBE? Thank you so much for that. That is so sweet. I really appreciate it. All right. So they said he's not the average or typical social person, that he's not a social butterfly. He's usually quiet or in the background and not a man of many words. Now, that is true. Never mind just guys down the hill. Just, I mean, it's like guys down the hill. That's it. And I know that there's 43 seconds of video and audio, maybe more audio, but they talk about this 43 seconds, right? But we don't know if the rest of it, besides guys down the hill, is maybe not him talking at all. Apparently, in some of John Kelly's videos, he also said that from what he's heard from family and the investigation in general, and it's rumored, I've heard it rumored as well, I'm just glad it came from him, that he said, apparently Abby was saying to Libby, is Mr. Creepy still behind me? And Libby said, yes. So he was saying, I wonder if it's like, if teenagers called him Mr. Creepy, if he was like known amongst teenagers as Mr. Creepy, or if they were just calling him that on the day, like, oh my word, is Mr. Creepy still around? So that is also interesting to think about. I do wonder if one were to interview all the teenagers in the Delphi community, because most of the adults, of course, are like, we didn't see anything suspicious about him, nothing wrong, nothing remarkable. But I do wonder, how teenagers found him to be. Because I would suspect that some teenagers, at least a percentage, would be like, oh my word, he was so weird. Or, the way he was lurking around the aisles, or the way that he was walking here and here, or the one time we saw him at Dairy Queen, or the one time, you know what I mean? That could also be interesting. Okay. Just let me know, you guys, if I need to slow it down at all. I'm watching. Okay. So they also said he would have possibly communication or language deficits. So by that also meaning maybe not expressing himself, or not a just not being a very talkative guy. He sadistically demonstrates control and dominance over his victims that he may not have in his personal life, i.e., acting out in a very pathological way. So in a lot of the videos, we see, his wife saying, which I won't show now because I don't want to show his wife, but when she had all her Facebook videos, I think they're back up. I found them again today. So I don't know. Can you guys find them? Anyway, when he's like saying a few things, she'll be like, shut up, but just in a jokey way. She's like, no, shut up, and like giggling and filming things. And she's definitely more dominant in the relationship and, a very bubbly person. And I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, in life in general, he would be like background character. The way that everyone described him, before and after the murders, seems to be that way. So they were saying he sadistically demonstrates control and dominance over his victim that he may not have in his personal life. So that's like his time to be. Wait, what do they call it? Like the top dog. I just want to see my notes here quickly. I think it was the top dog, the big man. Damn, so many pages. Hold on. Yeah, the top dog. That's what they said. The top dog, the big man. Little Dicky. Mr. Mina says, could the shoe be one of the missing articles of clothing? I don't think so, because they said the killer took 2 articles of clothing, and they found the shoe before they'd found the bodies, from what I understand. So no, I don't think so, but I don't know. So they say he is probably, and think again, this is from 2 years ago. That's what amazes me. They said he's probably a hunter, an experienced hunter who knows how to slaughter animals. And yes, he's got a hunting license. It's not uncommon in this area. Many guys living in the area would be hunters, but yes, he's a hunter. An insignificant person who has no moral sense is one way that they described him. A voyeur with a fetish who would take trophies, and they did, because there were 2 articles of clothing missing, which is long enough to probably be underwear. Yes, underwear or undergarments. They said he's likely a thief of lingerie. So what was interesting is, because the tip line's of course still open, that was a good suggestion, and that was actually 2 years ago, but it's still a good suggestion today, that if you live in the area and you ever saw this guy, someone looks like Richard Allen, stealing underwear off of clothing lines and things like that, you got to call that in too, right? And they also said a sadist, and his search history would reflect that. He may also have communicated with young girls online. So social media history could be interesting. In all my digging, sleuthing, I couldn't find any social media profile for him, or anything dodgy, or anything like a fake profile or anything like that. But it would be interesting if he's connected in that way, even to Kevin Klein and his dad and that whole ring. Apparently they've busted like 20 offenders recently. I saw that on Facebook today on the Delphi group, an update that they've busted a whole bunch. Let me show you quickly. It would be, look at this. Look at a little Dicky over here. That's what I call him. I call him all kinds of things on Twitter, especially as well. This is apparently from when he worked at Walmart in the past. We don't know the exact date, but it says Rick on his little name tag there. And look at him. Just look at him here. Oh, my goodness. Right? And then here, when I just scrolled here, they said 1 day ago, just seen on national news, there was that those words on screen, a ring of 20 men that was arrested in Indiana. That's very interesting. Just to, I think it's really great that in this case, what's happened is that it's actually, in searching for Bridge Guy, I think they uncovered a lot. A lot. Yes, Janet, Walmart. In many cases, there's a Walmart involved. Exactly. Oh man. Okay. So let me put my presentation back on. Welcome, Jansky, to membership. If anyone is joining membership today, make sure you check out the community tab because I took you guys on a live stream to a light show on Sunday, and the link is on the community tab for you. It's just for you. Don't share that link anyway, but check it out. Okay, so let's go to the next page. But this is accurate, huh? Don't you think? It's like amazing to hear just what they said 2 years ago. Okay, they said he would have low self-esteem and or a low sense of self-worth, that he would have no empathy or very little for animals and people. And he's oh my word, I got such a fright. Sorry, I've got the sound on my other screen. I'm like, what? Hold on 1 second. Okay. All right. So, um, you saw me jump. Okay. Back. Let's calm. Let's calm. No empathy, very little for animals and people. Okay. In his spare time, he likely spent a lot of time hunting or fishing or outdoors. And we can see that from the photos that his wife shared. Yeah. They went hiking. They went to see waterfalls. They went horseback riding. He's definitely outdoorsy, huh? Yes, thank you for reminding me to make that statement. Of course, we're looking at the profile of a killer. Yes, so that's true. He is, though, presumed innocent until proven guilty. Exactly. Thank you, Seattle Ryan, for reminding me to say that. Yes. All right. So they say since the murders, he would have watched YouTubers talk about the case. The search history would be interesting. And the reason would be is because for a while it wasn't really covered on American national news. Of course, I'm in the Netherlands, right? But it wasn't on national news much. But YouTubers kept it going all the time, talking about it 5 years and kept it from going cold. So that's really great. But yes, he probably was watching all of it to see if anyone's onto him. And you know what really sucks is that no one really was, from everything I can find and from just searching. The only time we've ever seen the name Richard was on that 4chan like message board. That would be the only time. But we don't even know they were talking about this Richard, but that was quite interesting. So yeah, he probably was watching. Welcome, Dee Dee Burns. I just quickly want to see something. Okay. So how many? We've got 1,500 Grizzlies in here. If you're brand new to this channel, welcome to it. I really appreciate you being here. Become one of the Grizzlies by subscribing. And if you do hit the bell, it's for you. It's not for me. Just remember that's for you so that you get reminders when I'm next uploading or going live. I hope that you're enjoying today's episode. If you are, you know what to do. Shauna says, yes, no empathy probably mimics the concern of the town. And that's what that bar owner was saying, that he, oh, damn. Bunny Gaffney, how do you know that? The bar owner was saying that he would come in and they would talk often about the murders and be like, shame, the poor families, this is horrible. And, just go over and over it. And the bar owner actually said, we try not to talk about it too much because we all knew the families and we were friends with the families. That was an interesting statement. Bunny Gaffney here says panties and a sock was found in his home. Interesting. Hope for All says, I love being a Grizzly. Amelia says there are just too many coincidences in this case. All right, so I put slow mode on. It's every minute you can type, unless you remember, then you can type as much as you want, I guess. Don't spam us now, but at least slow mode. You don't have to wait that minute. Okay. So where was I? I've been in the rabbit hole, you guys. I've really been enjoying watching all the Delphi content I can find. And I'm going to show you, there's a few things we're going to go over today. I'm going to go through this presentation, right, of the profile. And then I want to also show you, just hold on, I've got a little, I want to go over why the documents are sealed. Why is the probable cause affidavit sealed? Because I found some cool legal terms and things from the experts, And then I want to play you a little snippet from the Down the Hill podcast, the most recent episode, just what they said of the dig in the backyard, which is a little more extensive than what we saw from the YouTube video. And then I'm going to show you a channel called Hoosier Cold Cases, their video of a specific portion that I want to show you of how the girls would have walked on that trail and just what it looked like back then, because it's got videos from then, because I believe now they've kind of paved it. It's changed a little bit. So we will we will be doing all of that. So hang in there for all of that. If you find this presentation by any means boring, just hang in there. We're going to get to some interesting stuff as well. Not that I find this boring at all. I could do this all day. Okay. So they say, since the murders, he would have watched YouTubers. So I wonder who he watched and if he thought, oh, my word, they're onto me, but I must have scared the crap out of me to see everyone doing all the side-by-sides. He's like, well, when will I see my face there? Now we're all doing it, right? Oh, my goodness. All right, before I continue, Sarah says, as a sadist keeping a secret, he could bask in the conversations about the girls after the fact. Exactly. Thank you for supporting the channel. And they say here he would have weapons or a weapons license or operates a weapon. He would have threatened the victims with it. And he would have said the usual, if you do what I say, everything will be okay. Because a lot of people say, why didn't they scream? Why did no one hear them scream? But you wouldn't. I mean, put yourself in the shoes of a 13-year-old girl, 13 and 14. I mean, damn. I mean, I'm 38. Even me, I'd be like crapping myself if some guy walks across a bridge like that, has a gun, and is like, just do what I say. You know, like you feel the fear. And I mean, imagine being 13 years old, 13 and 14, as I say, as the victims were. But yeah, profiler John Kelly was saying, they always would say, if you do what I say, everything will be okay. So, you know, complying with everything he says so that they would survive, but also, well, thinking that they would, right? Whew, and the fear they must have felt. Oh my goodness. They actually said he would likely suffer, because these types of killers do, from obsessive compulsive disorder, and is very disciplined. And that the obsession would be all in this, these types of fantasies that he has, like hyper focused on them, right? Would possibly have close family relationships. They mean like a wife, and you know, he has a wife and a daughter, like close family relationships, but may struggle to actually bond with others, wouldn't have many friends, would be relatively quiet at work. All right. Okay, you guys, please don't use capital letters unless you are visually impaired and you have to do it. But otherwise, YouTube registers it as spam, and it's not good for the health of the stream. All right. So he may have had prior knowledge of the girls being there that day, catfishing, stalking for days or weeks, or connections who knew the girls would be there that day. And we know what we mean by that, right? It was not a random act. He was equipped for it and would have fantasized about it for a long time. So that is a possibility, you know, knowing that they would be there, unless he fantasized about, you know, the situation and just found an opportunity that day. We don't know, but that is a possibility as well. Okay. So, likely had a specific victim type in mind: build, hair, look. The other victim was likely, very sadly, collateral damage. Would likely have taken pictures as trophies and hidden them. Now, there I say example, a roll of film, a box of pictures, etc. And now I want to play you this little portion here from, I'm going to play it from my phone, from the Down the Hill podcast. Just listen to this little portion. It's about a minute or two, where they talk about taking something out of the ground that's even like the size of a bottle cap, like where they took this out of. So just listen to this.
It's a very quiet neighborhood. They've never had anything happen in their neighborhood.
Can you
so
hear?
When they saw all these, what appeared to them to be unmarked police cars arriving, and all of these men getting out of the car and going up to Richard's front door, they became suspicious. What's going on over there? What do we need to know? And they watched for the next 12 hours as police approached the door and asked him and his wife to exit their home. They kept them out of the home the entire day. They said that Richard stood outside his home for several hours. He sat in a vehicle with his wife for several hours. At some point, she left. They said there wasn't a lot going on. It was more people standing around for the first part of the day. And then as it was starting to get dark, they saw Chief Deputy Tony Liggett of the Carroll County Sheriff's Department arrive. And he's somebody that they know, so they recognized him immediately. They said he had a piece of paper in his hand, and he went up to Richard and showed him the piece of paper. And it was right after that, they said a tow truck arrived immediately, started loading up his car. The officers who had been there accumulating all day entered the house. Some went into the backyard. backyard. They started searching around a shed, taking pictures, doing some digging. They used some sort of a device around the shed and in a flower bed that they thought was perhaps a metal detector, could be some sort of a sonar device or whatever to get a sense of what might be buried there. They did not dig up the flower bed, but they did dig up 2 spots near the shed. They also watched as police brought items out of the house, and the husband was watching with binoculars. He said that he saw one officer come out with what appeared to be 2 large bundles of dark colored cloth. He said, I couldn't tell you that it's clothing, but it definitely appeared to be cloth. There was a Macy's shopping bag, a shoebox, and a stack of books that he said, just looked like a reasonable stack of thin books, not like a huge stack of large encyclopedias or anything like that. They said that the 2 areas in the backyard that were dug up were rather small. One was incredibly small. They said that perhaps all that could have come out of that spot was perhaps a bottle cap or something of that size.
And that's what I mean. A bottle cap or something of that size. That's why I say example is like a roll of film, like old school, a roll of film rather than having a whole bunch of, I don't know, pictures on his phone or digital evidence because he knows that could be traced more easily. I wonder. Let's just listen to a tiny bit more, yeah?
They were curious, of course, wondering what is happening with our neighbor's house, our quiet neighbor. They said that he was somebody that they had lived next to for several years, that there was nothing special about him, was the way they phrased it to me, that he didn't have loud parties, he didn't have people over. They would see him going and coming from work, sitting out in his driveway, having a couple of beers after work and maybe smoking some cigarettes. They had a little more interaction with his...
And even there is where they talk about him being a smoker. It's mentioned multiple times, but remember in the previous episode, if you didn't see it, check out my playlist for Delphi. It's in the previous, I don't know, one of the previous videos or live stream. Now I can't remember. One of the most recent, one of the top 3 that I've just done, right? I talked there about the police scanner audio and we listened to it and them finding girls' undergarments under the bridge and also finding a cigarette butt, which was less than 3 days old. So then we're like, oh, but was he a smoker? Yes, he was. So just listen to this a little more.
Wife, but they said they were just very quiet neighbors. And after watching that for 12 hours, this is a family that has children, and they called Tony Liggett and said, hey, we're a little concerned here.
Listen to this.
About what happened, what this is all about. And all that Deputy Liggett would tell them at the time was to stay vigilant, especially with your wife and daughters.
Damn, stay vigilant, especially with your wife and daughters. Wow. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, Swedish Lena says using a roll of film makes sense since he could print it at work. Right? Okay. So yes, I'm not too sure what they took out there, but it is interesting that it's small, like a bottle cap. Okay, so this is the marriage certificate. Thank you to Angela. Is Angela in the house? Thank you for sending this to me. Oh, let me just sorry. Let me rather keep it like this. He was born on the 9th of the 9th, 1972. He took the surname of his dad when he was 4 years old, when his mother got remarried. So that's when he became an Allen. Before that, it was Gorham. And he got married in April of 1991 at the age of 19. So he's now been married for 31 years in Peru, Indiana, possibly high school sweethearts. He got married in Mexico, Indiana. He had a job as a delivery driver for Mr. Steves, and his wife worked at Wendy's at the time, now at a veterinary clinic. They also said on that podcast that the house is empty right now. They haven't seen the wife there. I don't know where they're staying, but they're not staying at the house. They must be extremely disturbed by this news, right? My goodness. He has one daughter. He had her in 1994 after 3 years of marriage at the age of 22, and she is 28 years old now. All right. Janet says, great job, Angela. Yeah, I was so excited to see this because I knew on here it's going to say somewhere where he worked, and I'm still trying to piece together. So now we know it says here, delivery, it says sales or delivery, Mr. Steves, RTO, I think it says. And we know about that. We know about CVS, and that's since 2018. We know also somewhere in between there's Walmart where he worked. So we're piecing it all together bit by bit. All right. Caroline Page says, thank you for letting us know the house is still empty. Yes. Okay, so that's just a little bit of just some facts. If you didn't know that about him and have never seen the marriage certificate either, there it is now. So now a question I ask is, now that people have a name and face, how many saw him walking or hiking or hunting or fishing in this area leading up to and after the murders? That I would be so interested to know. In such a small community, man, if I could be there, I'd ask everybody. They're lucky I'm not there. I'd be walking around asking everyone. I'd be the Brian Anton of Delphi. I'd be going around, excuse me, did you ever see him in all these years, before and after the murders, walking there, whistling? I don't know why. I just picture him like whistling along. Anyway, but walking along the bridge, hiking, fishing. I mean, we've got a picture of when his daughter was younger, fishing as well. So he might have taught her how to fish. Like, where was that? Was that here? You know, I'm sure he was extremely familiar with this area. And then my other question is, the witnesses who provided information for the sketches, is this the man that they were describing? Could the people who spoke to law enforcement and described the man that they saw that day, could they come forward and say, yeah, that's him? That would be so interesting. Or like, nope, that's not at all who we were describing. Because that also make much more sense, right? To be like, oh, okay, so you were describing someone else who was out there. Well, that'll be interesting in case, because it's still an active and open investigation, in case there's anyone else involved. Well, who the hell were you describing? That would also help to know, right? BCBA says, you should switch it to divorce papers. Well, you never know. Will she file for divorce? Probably, but we never know. Stefan says, great questions, G. Man, I'd love to know those answers. Does anyone want to send me to Delphi? Send me to Delphi. You know, I'll be walking across that bridge. I'll be going filming down that hill. I'm going across the creek in my rain boots and everything. I'll be going there asking questions. Oh man, I have so many questions. They said that one of the victims had 2 missing articles of clothing, likely undergarments, and the police scanner said girls' undergarments that were found under the bridge. So, did he take both girls' articles, you know, the underwear, as trophies and then decide to discard one set? We've seen that happen before with killers. We've seen where they take something. I'm going to give one example. I'm not by any means comparing this guy to Jeffrey Dahmer, but Jeffrey Dahmer, the one time when he had murdered someone, decided, you know what, he's just not my type. Yeah, and then he got rid of his driver's license and everything. He didn't keep anything of his, which normally he would keep. Oh man, what a dark topic. But he would keep, if you didn't know, I wrote a book on Jeffrey Dahmer. Also wrote one on Bundy, Gacy, and Eileen Wuornos. And then I came to YouTube. So those are my 4 true crime books. But in studying Jeffrey Dahmer, with this one victim that he's like, nah, he's just not my type, but I'm going to have to kill him anyway in case he wakes up and he's angry with me. That was literally his thought process. He decided, I'm just going to discard of the trophies that I would have normally kept, right? So I just wonder here if he took, you know, undergarments from both victims and then just discarded of one under the bridge. Or did he just leave it there, as they say, to stage the scene, to just kind of litter? You know what I mean? Randy Ray says, John Kelly is a national treasure. We must protect and conserve him. Yes. All right. May says, just hoping his family can adjust and that they don't suffer public scrutiny. People can be enthusiastic. That's true as well. That's true. Teresita Hill says, hearsay is locks of hair. That wouldn't surprise me either. That wouldn't, right? And MD says he only took what he wanted. Everything else meant nothing to him. Mm-hmm. Okay. So when the police searched his shed and backyard, what did they find? There was one account of them taking something out of the ground. We already discussed this, from a hole the size of a bottle cap, a roll of film. Already put that in the previous slide. I was just like, is it? Could it be? Mikey's Mammy says it could be a camera card, a computer card, a thumb drive. It could be, but I would almost think it's like, I don't know why. I feel like the shed could be like one of those dark rooms, you know, to publish all these creepy photographs. I don't know, something like that. We don't. Maybe it's just like an ordinary shed. We don't know. It's his man cave, little Dickie's man cave. Oh my word. Or a roll of film would make some sense to me, because he knows then that it's a trophy. You can treasure it forever. No one can touch it, trace it digitally, type thing. But man, for them to have found that is very interesting as well, right? Mandy S says, how did he manage to do both girls by himself? I think there's someone else. Well, if he had a gun, that would be easier, especially to scare two teenagers, 13 and 14 years old. That would be a way to control the scene and the situation. And as we speculate, one victim could sadly be collateral damage. He was maybe targeting the other, and he may have murdered the one quite quickly, if I could say it like that. Again, I'm just speculating. Profiler John Kelly said that this bridge guy would be brought down by people's tips, and it may be so. There's rumor that it was his own mother. There's rumor that it was his own wife. We actually don't know how they caught him. YouTubers kept the case going cold and kept the pressure on. He believes that Richard Allen sent him fictitious emails and possibly to other content creators. One thing that is constant with these guys is the pattern of denial, denial, denial. He actually talked a little bit, as in Profiler John Kelly, about Kegan Kline and said that Kegan Kline reminds him of John Wayne Gacy in the way that he does this denial, denial, denial. Not that he's saying Kegan Kline's a serial killer by any means. He's just saying, like, these guys, they have no remorse, no empathy. It's all poor me. I'm the victim. And then it's just denial, denial, denial. He also said they evolve from fantasy, usually then to voyeurism, then to SA, then to murder. That would be how they evolve over time, which is why we question, was he a serial offender? You know, if he'd never ever murdered anyone before, then damn, double homicide on his first try, if you know what I mean. Even though it's not a try, he would have planned this very carefully. But before that would possibly be serial offenses, which is why the tip line is still open and so important. If anyone experienced this man in a criminal way, if he was doing any harm to anyone else, I really hope that they'll be brave enough to come forward, because it could really help, right? To know, okay, well, for instance, Kegan Kline had asked someone, this is from my memory now, and he'd asked someone, a young girl, for her address. And when she'd given it to him, then the next day when she got it from school, something like that. Remember the story of the masked man looking through a window and Kegan saying it absolutely wasn't him? Well, it might have been this guy for all we know. You know, it could be really anyone in this whole ring of people, but we just don't know if it's this guy that went from fantasy to voyeurism, if he's connected to the clients at all, we don't know. And then maybe escalating the behavior to SA, that we don't know either. And then murder. If Libby had not, this is what Profiler John Kelly said, if Libby had not captured him on video, there likely would have been more bodies. That was so interesting. Thank you, Tom. You say, I feel like this has been the guy since the 2019 New Direction press conference, and they just didn't have enough concrete evidence to get an arrest. Right? Very possible, yes. So, I was saying here, if Libby had not captured him on video, there likely would have been more bodies. Seeing himself on TV, the news, in press conferences, and on YouTube for years, you know, I mean, with the sketches and stuff, and with Bridge Guy, of course, the video and the pictures of Bridge Guy, as people picked her footage apart, likely made him feel overwhelmed and overcome with fear. So, Profiler John Kelly, who literally has interviewed and profiled serial killers like Henry Lee Lucas and has decades of experience, said that oftentimes serial killers are overcome with this feeling of like just overwhelm and fear that would already happen, you know. But imagine if he did not expect Libby to, and she watched true crime shows. That's what her grandmother said. She knew about true crime, and maybe she was like, oh my word, it was like instinct to know what to do. And that was so clever of her. And according to John Kelly and his team, they're like, if she didn't take that video, there would have been more bodies. She saved so many lives. She's a hero. They also say he's an extremely dangerous person, a chameleon. Now, that we saw, yep. And even just here, if you can see, I think at some point, especially recently, maybe even since 2019. He put on quite a bit of weight, probably to try to change up his look. And you could see, from having the beard and everything to then having a clean shaven face. And then again with the beard and all that, just his looks. He's trying to change up his looks, and his weight is mostly going up. And he must have been really nervous, even though he's like trying to keep it cool, blending in. He must have been. Man, this video that his wife took, like kind of like stalking him. That's what she said, like stalking him and giggling. But man, his face in that video was quite something, huh? Quink says, where did they find her phone? I also would love to know how far from the crime scene. Where was it? Across the creek? I don't know exactly where they found her phone. Does anyone know? Yeah, Janet Murphy says creep 2.0. Hammock. He didn't move and kept trophies. Smart. Very smart. All right. Is it at the crime scene? Bad Girl says at the crime scene they found her phone. Well, he really miscalculated that one. Okay, so now I've just got some pictures of him. Feel free to snark it up. I mean, damn. I just mean this guy. He's been charged with 2 counts of murder. We looked at the definitions of the exact code of what it, we broke down exactly what it means. So go and check out that video as well. The video is literally titled, like, understanding the charges he's facing. Here you can also see cigarettes in an ashtray on the table with his beers and stuff. And so he definitely was a smoker. Irene says she must have hidden her phone. Very smart. Yep. Are you talking about Dwight geocaching? Is that what you're talking about? Because we looked at that theory as well. The geocache link. I don't know if there is one, but there are geocaches, geocache treasures to find in that area. Yeah, Eileen, creepy little dicky. So yeah, there he is. A little bit more bold in the picture on the right because I think he'd been drinking a bit, and you could see that as well in some of the videos where he's playing pool. Sorry, this trigger warning. This could creep you out a little bit, seeing all these pictures like this. So in one video on Facebook, there's like Sweet Home Alabama playing in the background, and I will put videos together at some point, right? I don't want to just show it now because I don't want to show his wife, but for her protection. But anyway, it's on social media under her profile. If you just look a little bit, and just the way he is after he's had a bit to drink, he's playing pool, and then she's like dance, and just the way he is, even the dancing seems just odd, just an odd guy, this guy. Oh, you're talking about geofencing, literally. Geofencing, a cell phone triangulation method. That's what you're talking. That's interesting. I also wonder. That I do wonder too. All right. So yeah, here's pictures of him. The ones with the wine glasses, that was on a wedding anniversary, I gather. And that was actually 2 months before the murders. These pictures on the left are 2 months before the murders, which I find really scary to think about. Of course, he's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, but damn, he's looking pretty happy there. Now this is a picture of his daughter on the bridge, which I believe was taken for her graduation photo. The community say it's very normal to go out there and take pictures for one's graduation. So she graduated in 2012, but it was posted to Facebook in 2018, amongst other photos. But this is a picture of her on the bridge, and the picture right next to her in the tie-dye with a cat on, that's her. That's his daughter in the tie-dye shirt. Now, I don't know when that picture was from exactly. But what I'm just showing you here is how eerily similar she looks to Libby. Which, yeah, it's just scary to think about. But that could be his victim type. I don't know. It just freaks me out a little bit if you think about it. That's his daughter. He obviously can't have her because it's his daughter, you know what I mean? Or maybe he fantasized for years. We don't know. But like, damn, she looks similar build, similar hair, and then the tie-dye shirt and just everything was like, oh my word, when I saw this. Also, this picture at the bottom left here, that's him sitting on the lap of his son-in-law. And I just find it like he's so creepy there. He's so strange there. Like the way that he's with his son-in-law is like, I don't know. But then again, I'm not a very affectionate person, so that is just like way too close. if my father or father-in-law, actually, if anyone got this close to me, I'd just be like, oh my word, anxiety. Oh, yes, Kathleen. And Libby was wearing tie-dye on the day. Yes, she was. Libby was wearing tie-dye on that day. That's what she was wearing on the day that she was murdered. So I've seen people speculate that that's literally her shirt. I don't think so. I hope not. I really hope not. That would just be next level creepy. But if you just look at it here, I mean, if you just look at it quickly, it looks like, oh, okay, it's all just like family photos. No. The photo below him is of Libby, one of the victims. And then the photo next to me and with the girl in the bed with the cat, yeah, that's his daughter. Yeah, exactly. Gregory. Yeah, that is a lap dance. Ooh, yeah, I don't know. I wonder how the son-in-law feels about that. It's like, damn, your father-in-law's sitting on your lap. And then here's some more pictures of him. Not that we want to see them, really, but here you go. Definitely an outdoorsy dude. No. Bumbucklo, I don't know if that's how we say it. He wanted to kill his daughter. No, I think it would be a sexual fantasy about a victim type that may have resembled his daughter. That's his real daughter. There you go. Thank you, Caroline. You're like, I will say it. I think Alan had carnal ideas involving his daughter and he acted this out with a near clone of her. Exactly. Thank you, Caroline. Okay. Yeah, too flipping similar. Okay, so now I've done that, and then let's quickly look at why. So this is my presentation done. Let me just see. I've got one more slide. Are we done? That's my presentation. If you like my presentation, give the video a thumbs up. It takes a while to make these for you guys. And also, if you're thinking someone's going to say it, I know there's going to be a troll too. You just literally copied John Kelly or just watched his video and then told us the information. No. I watched all of them and I brought you a summary. And then I'd love for you to go and subscribe to his channel, Profiler John Kelly, and go and check out the videos for yourself because there's so many and they're so interesting. I think he's got 44 parts, 45 parts of Delphi Murders, Who Killed Libby and Abby, part 45. 45 videos just on that case to watch. So go check it out. So I've done a lot of homework for you guys. I've watched a lot of content and I just brought you the bullet points so you can think about it and go check it out. All right. So now I'm going to remove this. Then what I'm going to do is bring up this right here. Oh, and one more time while we at it, I'm going to copy this. John Kelly, profiler. If you do go there, say, here from Grizzly True Crime. That would be amazing. Okay, so let's quickly look at this. Why? I still find myself here and there going, why exactly is it sealed? Why? Why is it sealed? The probable cause affidavit, because it's a little bit unusual. Not completely unheard of. In the Valo case, the probable cause affidavit was sealed for 7 months. I think the Barry Morphew one was sealed for months or years or is still sealed. The Chris Watts ones, the Watts case, those were sealed for a long time. So it's not the most uncommon. There's quite a few cases. I actually found a case as well in the area where it was also sealed. Sometimes when it's involving children, especially, the probable cause affidavit is sealed to not really sensitive information. So there's that as well. But I wanted to know, like from legal experts, so this is from Law and Crime, okay, why is it sealed? GG Riley. Thank you, G, for your thorough hard work and always bring the latest info and analysis predictably quick. Go Grizzlies. Thank you so much and thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you, Coogie, for that as well. That is so sweet. Tom, thank you so much. When Doug says we are one piece away, I think that one piece has been found and that's enough to get a probable cause affidavit. He wants to know what they know. And one day, soon, he will. Exactly, Tom. And one day, you will. I liked watching you know why I'm not playing for you today? Today, I was going to show you the WTHR special, but the audio is out of sync on WTHR with the video. So it's like really disorientating to watch. I hate it when that happens. So I'm going to fix the audio for us, and then maybe we can look at it in another episode. We can just go through that, or maybe I'll just bullet point what Doug Carter said. Basically, the most important thing that I heard from that was, do you think you caught the guy? Because you said, one day we will, and we know lots about you. Do you? And they said, do you think, Superintendent Doug Carter, did you catch him? And he says, yes, we did. We did. So Doug Carter is like super confident that they've caught Bridge Guy. He's calling him Bridge Guy. The family calls him Bridge Guy. I know that there's a whole school of thought out there that still does not believe that this guy's Bridge Guy. Innocent until proven guilty in the court of law, but Doug Carter's like, yes. Thank you so much, Coogie. And yes, Bad Girl, thanks for reminding us. Justice for Libby and Abby. If you do share this video anywhere on social media, you can share it multiple times. Hashtag Justice for Abby and Libby. You can also hashtag Abby and Libby or Libby and Abby, or hashtag Delphi would also be very helpful. Yeah, Ange says, I saw that the audio is out of sync. It really is. I'm just going to have a quick sip of water. Then we're going to look at this. And while I do, let me show you quickly. I'm going to do the probable cause one right now. Why it's still sealed, we're going to find out exactly. I've got my Grizzly ride or die pint glass. You can get one too. It would clink. So yeah, this is the first time I'm using it. So let me put this back on. Have a sip of water. Hold on. All right, I'm back. So why the case file of Delphi murder suspect Richard Allen remains sealed and what to expect from here. As Richard M. Allen, 50, of Delphi, Indiana, sits in jail without bond and being moved around a lot, right? The details remain sealed as to why the authorities came to suspect him in connection with the Delphi murders. Indiana law appears to follow authorities' relatively broad discretion and multiple ways to seal criminal case files. Those mechanisms are worth noting given the dearth of publicly available information on the case. The killings of two young teenage girls, Abigail, Abby Williams, 13, and Libby German, 14, near an abandoned railroad trestle on February 13, 2017, finally led to Allen's arrest. An assemblage of local law enforcement authorities and a local prosecutor announced on Monday morning. We were here together for the press conference, and I even uploaded a sniffle-free press conference for you. So if you saw the press conference, there were lots of sniffles. We don't throw shade at Doug Carter for sniffling, but I did make an episode for you where you can listen to it without any of that. Okay, just in case some of you don't want to hear that. I do not know what's going on with these adverts. They say you may like. I don't like it. I don't want it. Anyway, okay, moving right along here. They say Allen is charged with 2 counts of murder, the state police said. Carroll County prosecutor Nicholas McClellan said Monday that both a probable cause document and a charging information remain sealed and likely would remain so for at least about a month. So they said at least about a month. Now, Becky Patty, Libby German's grandmother, started a petition to ask the public to help her, sign it so that the documents can remain sealed. I believe she needed 30,000 signatures and she's got more than that now. So if you guys sign, good job, good job. She's got more than that now, so that's great. The reason I say it's great, even though, of course, I'm curious, I would love for it to be unsealed. But what we really want after all this time, almost 6 years later, is not to now screw it up by public pressure and pitchforking and be like, show us, show us, show us. And there's obviously a reason they're hiding it or sealing it, you know what I mean? So patience. I've said it now. This is probably the 3rd video that I'm saying this, but like patience would really be helpful right now. We've got to be patient so we can see justice served for Abby and Libby. McClellan admitted that his request to keep the file sealed was unusual. The nature of this case has some extra scrutiny with it, McClellan said. There will be a public hearing on whether or not those records are going to remain sealed. So that's on November 22nd. Okay, we're not that far away from it. What's today? The 6th. All right. So they say it's about protecting the integrity of this case, McClellan continued. I want to have an opportunity at some point in court to explain the evidence, and for that not to be tarnished or tainted. McClellan didn't fully explain how or why court records may remain sealed in Indiana, but state court administrative rules fill in some of those blanks. The task of understanding the machinery at play in Allen's case, however, is shrouded in mystery. McClellan's office has not responded to very narrow requests by Law and Crime for a citation to the particular rule employed to seal the records. and the clerk of court's office said it has literally nothing on the matter. The latter said any material would be made available on an Indiana court system database once it was public. So, we're going to be checking that from November 22nd and beyond. No information about the case is currently available on that system as of the date and time of this report. Generally speaking, all persons have access to Indiana court records under the relevant rules, and an official comment contained within the rules states the objective of the rules is to provide maximum public accessibility. However, several exceptions. Now, I like this. This is now, let's dig up this law, all these law terms, right? Legal terms. Several exceptions appear in Rule 5, Rule 6, and under Indiana's Access to Public Records Act. Rule 5, exceptions. Rule 5 of Indiana's Rules of Court contains several mechanisms for sealing or closing records. Most are mundane, usual, and self-explanatory. For instance, Social Security and bank account numbers, the names of child witnesses, and visual depictions of SOs are not publicly available. Materials connected to a mental health review of a defendant are also closed records, but the Delphi murders case likely has not reached that stage. Two broad exceptions stand out: Rule 5A5 and Rule 5B7. The first applies to the entire categories of cases. Okay, are you guys enjoying all the legal terms? All right. They say here, 5, entire cases that exclusively pertain to investigative requests and process unrelated to a pending criminal proceeding, including but not limited to search warrants, subpoenas, and that's a hard word, testificandum for oral testimony, subpoenas, duces tecum for items, usually documents, and other investigative requests. 7, records in a pending matter that pertain to permissible ex parte proceedings, post-charging investigatory requests for process, or requests for in-camera review, and that have been ordered confidential by trial judge. Ex parte proceedings involve just one side in a case and usually occur in civil matters where one party asks for a preliminary injunction in an emergency situation. Now, if any of you don't like the legal stuff, okay, we're going to read this one article here. Then we're going to look at that Hoosier cold case production on their channel. We're going to look at the trail, that what it looked like at the time and how the girls would have walked to the Monon High Bridge, okay? So just hang in there for that. So in-camera review occurs when a judge considers documents in private. Usually that applies to material which contains highly sensitive private matters, example, trade secrets or communications covered by attorney-client privileges. So those exceptions likely don't apply to the Delphi murders case. I like how we're ruling it all out, like one by one, like what could it be? When read in tandem, however, the rules allow courts to seal investigative requests and investigative requests for process, and Law and Crime is unable to find any Indiana case law to define precisely what those terms contemplate. It's possible another rule, 5E1, could be at play. That rule allows records to be sealed when an arrest warrant is sought, but it also contains strict limits on how long the seal is allowed to remain in effect. Caroline says, I like the legal documentation. Nice. Welcome Marielle to membership. Hawkeye Seneca says the efforts to keep this as tight-lipped as possible all these years is commendable, right? And Shauna says they should move it. Delphi is too tiny for this. I have no doubt that they're going to move it. The new venue, right? Change of venue? I think they will. What do you think? Maybe that's also part of it, right? Miss Moller says, can you read the specific request to be sealed for this case? I've read through all of that before in a previous video. So just go check that out because I went through the entire case file on Richard M. Allen. All right. So here they say, welcome, Laura. Here they say E, court records that shall be temporarily excluded from public access. The following shall be excluded from public access, and no notice of exclusion from public access is required. Entire criminal case when a request to exclude case records from public access is filed filed contemporaneously with a request for an arrest warrant. When this request is made, the request and the court record will be rendered confidential until the court rules on the request. When probable cause to justify issuance of an arrest warrant has been established, the case record shall be publicly accessible unless the judge determines that the facts presented in the request for exclusion from public access support a reasonable belief that public disclosure will increase the risk of flight by the defendant, create an undue risk of harm to the community or a law enforcement officer, or jeopardize an ongoing criminal investigation. That sounds about right. B, an order excluding public access issued under the subsection shall expire immediately upon the arrest of the defendant. So we don't see that happen. They say the known facts in the Delphi murders case suggest many of these issues are at play, but the rule says that any seal contemplated under the section expires immediately when a defendant is arrested. Here, that has happened. One defendant is under arrest. The big question is whether another defendant is named on the same charging instruments who has not yet been arrested. In federal court, when that happens, a redacted or partial indictment is released immediately under the rules followed in the federal system. Assuming Indiana follows similar rules, it's unlikely another defendant is named on the same charging instruments as Richard Allen. Now, Rule 6, we're almost there, another rule, and likely the big one being followed in the Allen case, allows the sealing of court records in extraordinary circumstances. The core of that rule reads as follows. In extraordinary circumstances, a court record that otherwise would be publicly accessible may be excluded from public access by a court having jurisdiction over the record. A verified written request to prohibit public access to a court record may be made by any person affected by the release of the court record. The request shall demonstrate that 1. The public interest will be substantially served by prohibiting access. 2. Access or dissemination of the court record will create a significant risk of substantial harm to the requester, other persons, or the general public. Or 3. A substantial prejudicial effort to ongoing proceedings cannot be avoided without prohibiting public access. When this request is made, the request and the court record will be rendered confidential for a reasonable period of time until the court rules on the request. And in that WTHR special where Doug Carter spoke as well, he was interviewed. There he just said, give it time. It will be released. Just give it time. And here, I almost said Tony Klein. Why was I saying Tony Klein? Nicholas McClellan said about a month. So we'll see. We'll see. What's up to Neverless True Crime? The chat is flying by. Welcome. There you go. Grizzlies, I'm late, so I need back to start, but also don't want to miss anything live. Thank you so much for being here. So what I went over was the profile. Okay, if anyone's just rolling in now, thank you so much for being here. I went over the profile of a budding serial killer or a visual predator, terms that I heard from John Kelly, a professional criminal profiler. And now we're looking at all these legal terms here, which these adverts on the side just annoy me. But if I block them, then you know how the sites go. They say refresh, you can't block and all that. Anyway, so let's just continue with the legal term. Why is the probable cause affidavit sealed? Doug Carter says, be patient. It will be unsealed. Now is not the time. Nicholas McClellan, lead prosecutor, says, just chill. It's going to be maybe in a month, right? And there's a hearing to see if it's going to be kept sealed or if it's going to be unsealed on November 22nd. Here they say with this rule that we just read, which is Rule 6, the rule contemplates that the request, a document or a transcript of an oral argument, may also be sealed along with the actual documents to which the request pertains. That seems to track with what's occurring in the Allen case. Again, the local clerk of court's office told Law and Crime by telephone that its office has literally nothing whatsoever on the public docket in the matter. Again, more mystery. The applicable records remain sealed until a public hearing is held. Following that hearing, a judge may continue to keep the records sealed, but only after explaining the rationale for such a move. Written order. Following a hearing, a court may grant a request to prohibit public access by a written order that 1. States the reasons for granting the request. 2. Finds the requester has demonstrated by clear and convincing evidence that any one or more of the requirements of Rule 6A have been satisfied. Get your notebooks out. We're going to have a pop quiz after this. No, I'm just kidding. Just making sure you're listening. We're learning a lot here together. 3. Balances the public access interest served by this rule and the grounds demonstrated by the requester. And 4. Uses the least restrictive means and duration when prohibiting access. Indiana Access to Public Records Act. The Act itself, which is a statute, not a court rule, contains specific provisions for criminal proceedings, but they facially apply to proceedings, court hearings, not actual documents. Criminal proceedings are presumptively open to attendance by the general public, the Act states. No court may order the exclusion of the general public from any criminal proceeding or part of a criminal proceeding unless it affords the parties and the general public a meaningful opportunity to be heard on the issue of any proposed exclusion. Thank you so much, Andrea Beth. There is something dark about his eyes and expression, devoid of emotion and feeling. Cold, right? Very cold, yeah. Stefan's ready for the quiz, guys. Stefan is taking notes in his Grizzly notebook. Yes, there are actually Grizzly notebooks available if you didn't know. So you can collect them. There's like 10 of them, I think. But anyway, take notes and get ready for that pop quiz. All right. Okay, so here we go. Criminal proceedings are presumptively open to attendance. Wait, we read this, okay? No court, we saw that. Okay, the remaining provisions are not dissimilar from Rule 6. Proceedings are presumptively open, but they can be closed so long as a hearing on said closure is held. You can see this little thing here. We kind of getting there. We're kind of getting there. I just want to see. It's a very. They see the rest of this is just adverse. So we're almost there now, right? It's a pretty long one, but we're almost there. Okay, so just hang in there for legal stuff. Professional responsibility. The recalcitrance of the local constabulary, especially the prosecutor, to say more about the case also makes sense. Indiana's rules of professional conduct forbid lawyers from making out-of-court statements that create a substantial likelihood of materially prejudicing an adjudicative proceeding in the matter. Richard said, lots of legal stuff. Should I make myself some coffee? Maybe. We're almost there, though. It's not much longer now. So they say, like most states, Indiana's rule. Imagine the person who wrote this. Mad props to them for writing this and explaining this all to us. Like, let's go through it all. What it could be. Okay, no, it's not that. It's not that. So let's just keep going. Why would it be sealed, right? It's helping me a lot. I've read this a few times today. I'm like, oh. So, like most states, Indiana's rule contains several exceptions, including the perfunctory facts of the arrest itself, the identity of the person arrested, and for information contained in a public record. Naturally, that exception does not apply in the Delphi murders case because the records are not yet public. However, generally speaking, arrests are the ultimate deprival of liberty by the government, and American law generally contemplates that information about arrests be swiftly disclosed to the public upon demand. The rules of professional conduct comport with that doctrine. So again, if you're here now, hang in there. We're going to look at some footage after this of the trails. Okay, you don't want to miss that. The professional conduct rules also generally forbid attorneys from discussing outside of court the possibility of a plea agreement, the existence or contents of any confession, admission, or statement given by a defendant, the results of any tests, the identity or nature of physical evidence expected to be presented, and of course, any opinions as to the guilt or innocence of a defendant or suspect. These matters are ultimately for the jury to decide. What we do know, an emotional Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter on Monday called the investigation long-term and complex, so still. But he and an assemblage of other law enforcement and prosecutorial officials refused to discuss any evidence in the case, which I know we're all dying to hear about. Carter, acknowledging the abrasion at play when the constitutional rights of the free clash with the constitutional rights of the accused, thanked reporters for relentless attention on the case, even when doing so led to frustration with the process, the authorities, and with him personally. He said a very methodical investigation would ensure that if any other person had involvement with these murders in any way, that person or persons will be held accountable. Man, imagine that. If there is actually someone else. This investigation is far from complete, and we will not jeopardize its integrity by releasing or discussing documents or information before the appropriate time, he reiterated. Remember, we're not done. The state's top cop said yet again, while imploring the public to continue to share relevant tips. Just as clearly as Carter tried to establish clear lines between the concepts of accusation, proof, and conviction, the Carroll County Sheriff Tobe Lesenby erased them while speaking on Monday. I believe in the God of justice and righteousness, Lesenby said. We saw that together at the press conference. Today, I believe that same God has provided us with justice for Abby and Libby. Now, the interesting thing that the Down the Hill podcast said was that Tobe Lesenby told them in an interview, because they interviewed him before, that the day that they catch the bridge guy, he's going to stand up there at the press conference and say, we got him. And they're like, we didn't see him say that. So that's also interesting. Tobe Lesenby didn't say what he promised he'd say. Anyway, the sheriff's comments echo those of other departments who have from time to time claimed that an arrest delivers justice. The latter, by all respectable measures of due process, is delivered by a neutral jury of one's peers, not by an arrest. Again, innocent till proven guilty. I will also show you, I know my thumbnail, it says Tobe Lesenby interacted with him. So we'll look at that quickly. Then we're going to look at the trail footage after this, right after this, okay? Carroll County Prosecutor McClellan did not immediately correct the sheriff, but implored several times that Allen was presumed innocent unless a jury convicts him. Such admonishments are required under the aforementioned rules of professional conduct, and McClellan was careful to recite them several times so as not to secure a visit from disciplinary authorities. McClellan said a judge found probable cause for Allen's arrest, but repeated that the investigation was ongoing and asked for tips about any other person. Taken as a whole, the lack of details has roiled at least a few attorneys in Indiana who agreed that the process was rare. It also raised questions about whether another suspect or suspects may be at large. Allen is scheduled for a pre-trial hearing on January 13th, 2023 at 9 a.m., according to McClellan. A jury trial is scheduled to commence on the morning of March 20th, 2023. So put that in your calendars. If there's any way we're going to see any of that, we're going to be here. If not, we'll get information about it and be here anyway and talk about it, right? It is unclear if Allen has a defense attorney because the case file remains sealed, right? Okay, pop quiz, everyone. So why is it sealed? Why do you think it's sealed? Now, let me see some of your comments here. Ophelia, thank you. You say, I love Grizzly. Agreed, need to re-listen. It was a lot, right? But damn, the person, did they say the name of the person who wrote this article? Because I'm like, whoa. Aaron Keller, shout out to you, man. Aaron Keller, November 1st, 2022. This article must have been grueling to write, honestly. Even with a lot of law experience, it would be grueling to write something like this. So good job. Now, what I want to show you, let's see what you guys are saying. Yeah, they won't be able to. OST324 says, yeah, I'm saying it. It'll be unsealed after that. They won't be able to keep it sealed for long. Could be unsealed after November 22nd. That's when we'll hear. That's when there's a hearing. Porcupine Pancake Art says, I don't believe he did this alone if he indeed is found guilty. All right. So now what I want to show you is, just hang in there. I just want to quickly find the right page for it. Yes, this one. This is on Facebook. It's HLN's page. And in this one, you can see there that Tobe Lesenby says, I interacted with him, not on a personal level. He was a store employee and came across as very, very helpful. In fact, I remember observing him in the store in the past. Whoa. Interesting, right? So Tobe Lesenby is like, damn, I saw that guy. He's just a friendly, helpful dude. If you're not familiar, Delphi is a tiny community, less than 3,000 people. So going into that CVS was commonplace. Here's a Delphi resident. He interacted with everybody in this town. Can you guys hear no sound? Why? You know, when it does that, it just like really annoys me so much. Because I've got it all set up here. No, not video file, not video file. Stand by. You know. So let's try it again. Tell me if you hear it now. Okay, tell me if you hear it now. For me, it's like damn loud.
Where Richard Allen worked several times, saying, quote, I interacted with him, not on a personal level.
Can you hear it now?
He was a store employee and came across, he says, as very helpful. In fact, Tob Lesenby goes on to say, I remember observing him in the store in the past. He would approach folks just doing his job.
You guys are saying sound too low. Why is that? Like, what is going on here? It's like so loud in my earphones. I'm like, damn. Okay, you can hear it now. Stupid StreamYard. I'm allowed to get snarky with StreamYard sometimes. Oh my word. Okay, one more time. Here we go.
Allen in town. Allen is accused of killing Abby and Libby in February of 2017. In our interview with the sheriff, he says he stopped at that CVS where Richard Allen worked several times, saying, quote, I interacted with him, not on a personal level. He was a store employee and came across, he says, as very helpful. In fact, Tob Lesenby goes on to say, I remember observing him in the store in the past. He would approach folks just doing his job, basically a good customer service representative. If you're not familiar, Delphi is a tiny community, less than 3,000 people. So going into that CVS was commonplace. Here's a Delphi resident.
He interacted with everybody in this town. He interacted with all of our children, our babies, our teenagers, with us. He told us, have a good day, stay safe, normal conversation. This man carried on with his life like it was nothing.
Damn, just like stay safe, everyone. Imagine that. Imagine that, him walking around saying, all right, everybody, stay safe. Telling the kids, stay safe. Yeah, like literally from you, bro.
Here are new photos you're looking at. Richard Allen, as the community knew him before this week when investigators announced he was arrested. 2 counts of murder. Authorities say their investigation is not over, about 90% complete, but it's ongoing. Allen entered a not guilty plea. I recently spoke to renowned former cold case investigator Paul Holes about the new developments in Delphi.
And this is very interesting too. Should I keep going, you guys? It's not a long thing. We've got like 6 more minutes. Then I'm going to show you the footage, okay, of the trail. So just check this out quickly.
Do you believe, in your experience, again, innocent until found guilty, we don't know yet, but it appears that the authorities have something here, considering the arrest, 2 counts of felony murder. In your experience, do people like this work alone?
In my experience, yes, they do. There are examples of 2 men teaming up, or a man and a woman teaming up in order to commit a crime. However,
I'm going to pause here and there. If you want to watch the whole thing, go to Facebook. It's on the HLN page. Otherwise, you'll be like, why is she... Okay, if you like snark or want to see me react to stuff like that, when people are like, why does she pause the whole time? Just go to my other channel, GNT. You'll see. But what I do want to say is that Profiler John Kelly did say, if this were to turn out, which now it hasn't, they've arrested Richard Allen, but he was speculating if it's like Kevin Klein and Tony Klein. That would have been the first father-son duo serial killer team to his knowledge. Imagine that. Oh my word.
However, considering what we have in this case, we have video of a single male walking across that railroad trestle towards Abby and Libby. We have a single voice saying down the hill, absent a second accomplice that is on the other side of the railroad trestle, indicating it was a planned attack between 2 individuals. I believe this is a lone offender. In part.
So Paul Holes believes this is a lone offender. I like all the theories from all these professional profilers and investigators, right?
Because they were victims of opportunity. Nobody could have known they would have been there. So 2 offenders couldn't have planned to have bracketed that railroad trestle, expecting Abby and Libby to just show up.
Could it be, the question arises, could murder have not been on his mind? Or the fact that he wasn't wearing a mask? I guess intent is what everyone is asking.
Based on the circumstances, I believe he was in the area. Now, I can't tell from the circumstances if he had any intent to commit violence while he's out there. But he's in the area. He sees Abby and Libby come down a path and get onto that railroad trestle. He recognizes, because he knows the area so well, they're trapped. They can't go to either side off of the trestle. So
Do you guys know who Paul Holes is? I'll just quickly read you a short bio. He's an American former cold case investigator for the Contra Costa County Sheriff's Office. He's known for his contributions to solving the Golden State Killer case, using advanced methods of identifying the killer with DNA and tongue-tied today. genealogy technology. Since retiring in March 2018, he's contributed to books, television, and podcasts about the Golden State Killer and true crime. So that's who we're looking at over here, Paul Holes.
So he can walk across that bridge. He's got absolute control. He can herd them to the other side. And because of he's an adult male, an intimidating presence to these two young girls, he can verbally and physically just take control of them and command them to go wherever he wants. The fact that he took them a distance away across that, what I consider a river, it's, I guess, technically a creek, to a isolated location tells me he had great familiarity and comfort with the area. So now I believe he likely just was in that area, saw Abby and Libby basically isolate themselves just as innocent kids out there having fun, took a look around, and using the familiarity of the area, decided I can absolutely isolate them and do what I want.
As we know with BTK, it's not always the mother or the daughter. People are saying, how can they not go and live with them? But as you know, Paul, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you live with them, you're going to know the dark secrets.
No, not at all. In fact, with Alan, he, as far as I know, doesn't have any significant criminal history at all. So, the people close to him probably aren't thinking he's capable of committing this type of crime. And even if, let's say, his wife sees this man walking across the bridge and has an inkling, well, that sort of looks like Richard, she's probably going to be in an absolute state of denial because he hasn't shown that, at least publicly.
Right. And someone was saying that it's like the wife may have thought, nah, he's not capable of that. Like it kind of looks like him, but there's no way he's capable of that because he's always the background guy. He's kind of, friendly, helpful, calm, quiet. So to put the two together, you're like, that kind of looks like him. But yeah, this guy, no, he would never do that. It's not even about denial. It's like thinking he's not capable of that, right? Wow.
With his criminal history, who knows what's going on inside that relationship?
Would this be a whim? Do you think he's done this before?
What we have seen, as many of these unsolved cases, some of them many, many decades old, have been solved, in particular with the genealogy tool that we use to catch D'Angelo. Cases that it was presumed based on circumstances, this is a serial offender. They've committed crimes before, committed crimes since. But a lot of these guys are turning out to be these one-off offenders.
Wow.
And this is, even though...
And you guys are allowed to disagree. You're allowed to have your own opinion because none of us really know yet. This is speculation, right? We've heard of the bullet point presentation I made for you guys today, what profiler John Kelly and his team think happened. And, they think it could be two people. Now we're hearing from Paul Holes, another professional. Okay, so feel free. It's not like you will take this as facts. We're all just speculating. I just see people getting very heated in the chat. Just chill. We could all have our opinions. We could all speculate. And I really hope we'll find out, as Doug Carter says, I can't wait to tell you the story. Like, damn, we can't wait to hear the story. What really happened? And was it one person? Was it more than one? How were they connected? Is there a digital trail or what? Like, it's going to be very interesting.
We've seen this within law enforcement, within the criminology circles before. The extent of these one-off offenders is somewhat startling. And even an FBI profiler said, we need to conduct a study on these offenders to understand their mindset. So I think it's possible that Alan is maybe one of these one-off offenders who probably had fantasy about committing this type of violent crime, committed it, and then either was caught before he committed another or decided, I don't like the paranoia. I didn't get out of committing this crime what I thought I was going to get out of it. But at this point, we just don't know. It's possible he has other cases that he's committed. Until everything comes out, until his DNA is completely tested across the nation and compared to all these other unsolved cases, we just don't know.
Mm-hmm. Interesting, right, you guys? Very interesting. So that's on this HLN page. Let's just close it like this. HLN. I'll put it in the chat. I'll also pin in the comments afterwards. Okay, I usually do pin. I don't just put in the description box. I also pin it in the comments afterwards so you guys can find it really easily. And I make sure every time to put in those timestamps for you guys. So that's my little discipline routine. Right after the live stream, I put in those timestamps for you so you know exactly what to tune into when if you want to watch the replay. Okay, so now what I want to show you, standby, is, we've already gone over that, would be this one. Okay. So I've asked permission from Hoosier Cold Cases to show you guys this video. This is called Delphi Murders Video from Freedom Bridge to Monon High Bridge. I've forwarded to this exact timestamp 1433 because from here, like just seeing the trail, you know, how it was then, how the girls would have walked, man, it's so eerie to see. You know, to think of a 13 and 14-year-old girl just walking here and giggling. And apparently on the audio, the part we haven't heard, Abby asks Libby, this is rumor, speculation, this is what's out there. I heard profiler John Kelly say it as well, of like, it's apparently out there, that Abby said, is Mr. Creepy still behind me? And Libby said yes. And then there was also some chatter about, does he have a gun? Does he have a gun on the audio that we have never heard, right? That's what's rumored out there. Aaron says, always helping us with your organizational skills, G. Thank you so much. Thank you, PT Notterman. Thank you so much. That is so sweet. Tom says, I think there are two people, and it's not the first time. They say arson is a gateway crime for murders. That's true as well. And we got to look at the Flora fire as well, and many other fires in the area, actually. But if you haven't heard of the Flora fire, the Flora 4, I have done multiple episodes on that and interviewed Cop Facts, and the Real Gon Gonzo has also been on the show with Cop Facts a few times. So check those episodes out if you don't know about that. Thank you, Tom. Okay, so check this out. So this is Hoosier. Wait, I just want to do this so that you guys have it. I'm going to put the channel link in the chat right now. And I'm going to play this. As I say, I emailed him and asked, can I show your video? He said, thank you for asking, because some people just show it, you know, and that's never nice when content creators just steal other people's content. So he said, I can show you this if you guys wouldn't mind. What I would love is you went over there, subscribe, and he also is having a premiere today. I actually think it's happening now or just happened. So of another video. So I'll just check it out after this if it is there. But let's have a look at this. Okay, I'm just putting his sound up. So just walking.
Just up ahead is the Mary Gerard Nature Preserve entrance. We'll see that. And that's the Mears property. I believe they're part of the German Baptist community. Another bench. I mean, you guys can see this. I guess I don't need to narrate every single little thing here, but this video is valuable because I'm not standing in front of the camera. There's people who can't get out there themselves. It at least gives them some idea of what it looked like at the time of the murders, as opposed to today where it's more developed. Just a beautiful hideaway. Yeah, there's little animal paths through the wooded areas and whatnot. Um, Lots of deer and animals out there. I was gonna do this instead of pre-recording. I was thinking about doing it live, but this way it can be a higher definition, and also won't have that stupid StreamYard thing in the way.
Snarky about StreamYard too.
Okay, straight ahead is the 501. To the right is the 505. And yes, many locals and visiting people have added tremendously to that spot to make it a much more beautiful memorial for the girls. This is the entrance where they came in from. Back in 2017, you could like pull off the side of the road and kind of park up here, and you could stay parked there and walk the trails and come back. You didn't have to park at the other parking lot. After the murders, they did.
Ooh, over here, he also clears up the shack question I had the other day, actually. Remember when I was talking about the press conference because someone sent me an email and was talking about the shack that's no longer there? That was interesting, but he clears it up right here. So listen to this.
Put a new gate up. So a lot of people at one point thought that was a shack or the shack reference. No, it's just an old dilapidated outbuilding, and trust me, not even a single person could fit inside of there. It really isn't as big as it looks even, and it's so fallen over. I'd be scared to even try, but like the stuff that's inside of it actually is a problem to where you can't really fit inside of it. So it's not the shack. It's
And JDR was like, there is a shack. Yeah, there is. There is a shack. But he's clearing up the rumor of it like no longer being there and people saying that's the shack reference and all that. It's probably not that. Jan and Mittens ask, can anyone tell me what a non-secular item is? So non-secular, not secular or religious, right? Secular things are not religious. I don't know what the item is though either. Could someone tell me too? I have no idea. And Charlotte said, I love this version of video as it shows how the trails did look. Exactly. So if you didn't know, things look a little different now. You know, they've paved some of the trail ways now and everything, the trails and things. So this is how it did look at the time where the girls were dropped off, which I think is around here now where he is. And then he's going to turn around and walk towards the bridge. So just walking that trail as it was then is what we're doing here.
not the shack at all. I don't even think the shack reference has anything to do with anything. So those gates, I'm not sure if they were there in 2017. Looks like somebody rammed into them at one point. They've since updated all this stuff too. Maybe those were the original gates. And then you could pull in there and just park there and whatnot. This is, a lot of stone has been added out there. And a nice blacktop.
Yes, if I botched the way I was saying it, you guys, non-secular are religious or supernatural or spiritual. Todd also says non-secular equals religious. So yes, thank you. If I if I botched the way I said it, I'm sorry. That is what I meant to say. That is what I'm trying to read. But yes, thank you so much, you guys. Yeah, this is very good footage, right? Thriving Beyond. Yes, and the Shack reference is to a movie called The Shack. Yeah, Doug Carter in the one press conference in the woods was saying, I recently saw, wasn't in that one in the woods, but he said, I recently saw a movie, The Shack. And we were all like, what? Why is he talking about The Shack? Right? Reconstructing Leslie says, Gisela, maybe you can go to Delphi for the trial. I don't know how long the trial would be. Damn. Probably not.
So from here on out, this is the path the girls took to
So-
get to the bridge.
So check it out now. Check it out.
Very similar day, very similar time. Now the path, if you go straight and take the 505, it actually kind of takes you down into the woods and dumps you out pretty far from the bridge, actually. It kind of ends abruptly in the middle of the woods.
What's creepy is imagining this creepy man following these two girls on this day on this path that he's walking right now. That is so scary to think about. Someone was also asking. Flossie says, "What is it about though? How does it fit in with this case? Thanks for answering." I'm assuming you mean this whole non-secular reference. Apparently, it's rumored that there was a non-secular item left at the crime scene. So that's what that's about. And how does this fit into the case? If this is what you're asking, then we're walking virtually through Who's Your Cold Case, a YouTube channel. Go over there, subscribe, say you're from Grizzly True Crime, and go check out his other videos because they're all amazing. This would be the third one he's uploaded today now of these walks. I'm showing you one of them. There's one that he premiered today as well. And it's just so incredible to see how it looked at the time because things have changed a lot. So when people are going out there now and filming for us, things have changed a lot. They've cleaned up a lot. This is how it looked then in 2017. So, yes. This is from Who's Your Cold Cases. So here you go. Who's Your Cold Cases? I'm in the way. Bam. Who's Your Cold Cases? That's the channel we're watching right now, which I have permission to share this video with you guys so that we can see this walk. Now check it out.
And I can completely see why the searchers going down the 505, there would have been a lot to look through just on the 505 trail and the woods between the 505 and the 501 even, without ever crossing any water or anything. It was a ton of land to search, without a doubt. Now, at the time of this video, a couple of years ago, they actually had gated off the 501 trail. So I have to take the 505 for a certain distance and then cut over to the left to the 501.
You see now he's walking towards the Monon High Bridge and they were dropped off at that gate that we just saw. And so he's showed us how steep it is down to the creek and now walking towards the bridge. So they would have walked this path. It would have looked like this. Same time of year, same type of scenery before all the paths and gravel and things were put down. Now, this is how it would have looked, right? And it's like, oh man, just thinking of these two girls being like, yay, so excited to go to the bridge and take photos and then be like, oh my word, is Mr. Creepy still following us? Like, what the hell? Whew, that is so scary to think about. Caroline says, I wonder how many times little Dickie, revisited the site or area. Mm-hmm.
For much of the distance to the bridge, the 505 is visible, but then it veers its own way, like completely away from the high bridge.
Sorry to interrupt all the time. Luna says, who's your? It's pronounced who's your? Who's your? Who's your? Is that how you said? Who's your? Okay.
They run parallel for a long way. So on the left, it's still pretty parallel. And it's interesting. I don't think a predatory human.
Hoosier.
There's no hiding. Like, so if this guy was like stalking them on these paths, they would have completely saw him. But like you're walking, that guy's walking, it's not really that odd per se.
Yes.
Because you're both walking in the same direction. The destination is still the same direction. So if he was staring at them or something, I would understand how they might get creeped out when they saw him coming on the bridge, depending on how long he was behind them or whatever.
So scary to think of him, especially now that we have like a name and a face who they presume to be Bridge Guy. He's a little innocent till proven guilty, but Doug Carter's like, Bridge Guy, we caught the guy, you know. So if you could picture, well, Richard Allen walking behind these girls in a very predatory mode, it's very scary to think about. Who's your guys? Who's your yeah, Mike? Like who's your daddy? Who's your cold cases is the channel we're looking at right now.
So here's the fencing they had put up right after the murders to kind of keep people from walking along the bridge. But as you can see, there's a path where people have walked numerous times to just cut over. So it was mostly ineffective. A waste of money and resources, potentially. I'm not certain why they thought that was effective, but not for me to judge, really. So, I mean, you can see.
So I hope you're enjoying this. This is how we walk into the bridge. We walk into the bridge. I also see only less than half of you have actually liked this video. So if you don't mind, please like the video and share it right now. And hashtag Abby and Libby, hashtag justice for Abby and Libby. That will be so useful. And if you share to Twitter, Delphi would also be a grateful, really great hashtag to use. I'd be grateful if you used it, is what I'm trying to say. Thank you for joining membership, the Hellstrom Prompt. All right. Bobby Swain said, did they first encounter RA in this area? Maybe. Okay.
See how, if you've been out to this area recently, it is way different. They have the blacktop, they have the thick stone, the path is very wide, but here it just looks like an animal path, or humans just walking it, because that's what it was. It wasn't well kept or anything, wasn't really mowed or anything like that. And yeah, you can see how it kind of curves up ahead. And I pause a couple times and I look back, if I remember correctly, and you can see how someone could linger back for a distance and not really be seen necessarily if they just stayed far enough behind the girls. And see, by this point, all the houses.
Look at it. He just turned around. So can you imagine even now in the background seeing Bridge Guy behind them there if he was following them? Mr. Creepy, as they called him. Whew, that's a scary thought.
Yeah. You can still see that fence back there, but... And then the 505 has started to veer off down.
We're not going over the bridge. Tara's like, are we going to go over the bridge? No.
Towards the water more in the opposite direction rather than parallel with the path here. And also on the left of us here, the houses are much further. There's like even a cornfield at this point. So the path changes quite a bit in direction. And you guys have all stared at the Google Maps, of course. So.
Oh, yes.
It's easy to look up also. We're just starting to see the break of where the bridge is, where it opens up. So it's interesting. There's a lot more growth around the south end of the bridge today than there was even just a couple of years ago when I took this.
You could start seeing the bridge in the distance there.
Video. So you can see the length of the bridge much clearer. than you can these days.
Look at it. Look at it. Look at the distance.
It's pretty haunting. Really. Now, I hadn't really back now, like, so imagine in 2017, we're coming up where on the left, there's like a path through the woods that takes you along the North Ridge to the ravine. And then across the ravine is Ron Logan's property and the crime scene, or the crime scene where the girls were found.
So you can see the bridge right here. So again, imagine Mr. Creepy following them. Shame. And then they went there, took 2 Snapchats, one of the bridge, one of Abby on the bridge. Abby apparently said, "Is Mr. Creepy still following me?" And then again, this is rumor and speculation of what's heard on the audio, saying, "Does he have a gun? Does he have a gun?" And then that's the last we know besides guys down the hill, which is really scary to think about. DR Piper said, "Do we know, is it true that Richard came forward early on in the investigation because he had been walking the trails that day?" That is what's been reported, is that he actually came forward in the early stages of the investigation as a witness. And it may have been when they released a picture of Bridge Guy. Maybe even before the video and the audio, because he probably absolutely crapped himself. So he's like, "That's it. I'm going to come forward as a witness and tell them what I saw. Yep, I was out there. Yes, walking that day." And who knows what else he said, right?
Because I think they consider the south end of the bridge the start of the crime scene officially, which makes sense. I'm not saying that there's other places. There could be, but we don't have any clue about that. We don't know about that stuff. It might, I'm not even hinting at that it's true that there's other crime scenes. I'm just saying the south end of the bridge is where the crime scene starts ultimately. That's where the crime began. Technically, them being abducted at the south end, and then from when they were murdered. Okay, so on your left here, you can kind of see a path right there, and that does take you up into the left. See that barrier on the left? That used to sit at the end of the bridge. And so when you look at the girls' photos from that day, well, Libby's photo of Abby that day, and you see that something here at the end of this spot right here at this end of the bridge, that used to be sitting
Literally this, okay? Because that is at the end of the bridge. And people often see a person. They're like, "It's a person in the background. It's this and this." But apparently it's this thing that was standing there at the beginning of the bridge, at the end of the bridge. So, yes.
there. And so that's what you're seeing. But yeah, from the parking lot, see how it's all really bad shape. They fixed some of that here. Well, I hope you join me again for part 2 of part 4 and part 2.
And it's so long. Okay, so look, I'll show you now. The channel that I'm showing you guys, go and subscribe over there. Hoosier. He's probably also like, "Say the name. I'm so sorry." Hoosier Cold Cases. All right. So go subscribe over there. I'll put the link in the chat as well. And what I want to show you now is if we go to his channel, we go to videos, you see these. I watched these. This one is what we watched now. This one is video from Freedom Bridge to the Monon High Bridge. Video from the north side of the bridge to the south side of the bridge. Actually, I think we watched this one now. Then there's this. And he's just premiered this Delphi Murders video from Freedom Bridge to the cemetery. So he's like uploading a whole lot here, which is really, really great to see. Even this one, it's just go check it out yourself, right? I mean, here when he was walking, he saw this tent. Look at the tent just there. And he said he was asking like, hello, is anyone there? But then he got nervous, and just decided not to ask this person. But here he says, is this you could read on the screen, a cookery of that kind? I'm kidding, but it is weird. And just to show you here at the end of really how long this bridge is and how steep it is. This down the hill portion is so steep because he's kind of walking it in reverse now, going up the hill. But damn, this
property
bridge.
owners have a
Look
lot
at
of
it.
deer cam, trail cams out there, and motion sensors that trigger alerts on their phones. So they don't want people out there. And I get it. There's people.
Thank you, Thriving and Beyond, for sharing the channel link. Who's Your Cold Cases? Go subscribe over there. Say that you're coming from Grizzly True Crime and that you support the channel. I hope you do. It's really incredible footage, especially to see how it was before all the renovations took place. You know, before they put all the stone down and the gravel and everything, because it looks a little different now. This is like how it was.
People constantly tracking all over for their safety and stuff. So, there's corn that, like, they were feeding.
But look at the length of this bridge. Like, oh my word. It's so scary, even from this angle, to see it. I think I would still walk over it, though. Put a 1 in the chat if you would walk over it, and put a 2 in the chat if you would never walk over it. I mean, like, even now, if you went there. 1 for yes, 2 for no.
Eating deer so they could hunt deer, right? It makes sense. These pillars are old and hold up this bridge. And so this is kind of how coming down from the south end of the bridge, down the hill, it is very steep and difficult. And this is really the only way to do it without absolutely wrecking yourself coming down these hills. And this is only from the private drive. This leads up to the private drive of the Weber home, as you can kind of see there. The Webers own all this property through here. This is all theirs, all private property. Yeah, and I can see why it was difficult to search the night. You can't really get vehicles in here, especially if the gate was locked at the end of this private drive. I will show you that gate in part 4. And look, we've come up quite a big hill, quite amount of distance, and that bridge is still really tall up there.
It really is. It's all very steep, but it's very interesting to see it from this perspective. Staying Classy says, where do you hear that about what was on Libby's video? This is the first time I'm hearing this. So I've heard it rumored pretty much on all the channels that discuss the Delphi case. I've heard this rumor the whole time, but I really heard it today from profiler John Kelly's channel. I was literally watching all the videos again that he's done on Delphi and just going over some from 2 years ago where he was profiling Bridge Guy. Like, what kind of killer would he be? So that's what we discussed at the beginning of this channel. I mean, of this live stream. And there, he also mentioned that based on what he's heard from the investigation, or family members may have heard the entire audio and some little bits of information have leaked. And that's some of the things that he was saying as well. So I was like, oh. So very interesting, if true, right? Mr. Creepy, because he even referred to them saying, is Mr. Creepy still behind me? And Libby's like, yep. You know? So very interesting. Yeah, the bridge is still there.
Here's the second hill. That's the hill where he would have said down the hill, and then they went down this hill that you're looking at. And then here's the second hill.
Look, he says, look how high and steep going down here would be. No way.
Yeah, going down that one. Now, people have done it, but not gracefully at all and not safely. So it looks like you can walk further back and come down, but it's not really that much different of a gradient. We don't know exactly where the down the hill is. I mean, we just don't. There was crime scene tape up at the south end in 2017. We have video. And so it's somewhere along there is where they came down. But we don't know the exact spot. And yes, that was a decoy duck, turkey or something. So I'm walking along.
So I'm just showing you this last little bit here. I just want to quickly actually go, from when he walks up it like this. Look at this.
This side is easier because there's more to grab onto than the other side. Most people think they went down the other side, but this side's actually much easier. It's like a ravine that runs all over the place through here. There is some drainage, but they're not huge pipes or anything. Grabbing onto the saplings help pull myself up. Trust me, doing this and holding a camera was very difficult.
So here as well, he shows it's actually more, it's steeper than we imagined, right? So when he's like, guys, down the hill, you know how scared they must have been? I know we don't like to think about that. I'm just thinking of this guy being so calculated, so, as they said, an organized killer, predatory, like guys down the hill. I mean, talking to two little girls like that as well is just horrendous, and forcing them down this hill and pretty much out of sight, going towards a location where he knew he wouldn't be seen. Oh man, yeah. Rose also said that poor girls, how scared they must have been. Morning Dove says shoe of one of the girls was found under the bridge in the water. Wow. I didn't know it was in the water. I knew it was close to, on this side of the creek from the bridge side, but in the water. Wow. Goodness.
But yeah, that's the drive we were just on.
It's
And
gonna
that's
end
how
here.
far up we are now.
See, he says down this hill, yikes.
Yeah, down this hill, yikes.
Okay, we just repeated it. Down this hill, yikes. Look at it. Wow.
And we're on the south end of the bridge now.
So they would have gone where he just went up the hill is where they, somewhere around those spots, because he's obviously speculating where exactly, but they would have gone down the hill. Oh my word. Okay, so the channel who gave me permission to show you guys this today is Hoosier, am I saying it better? Hoosier Cold Cases. I'm going to share the link one more time to the channel in the chat. Please go subscribe over there. Go check out his other videos. As I say, there's another one that he just released today, which is Delphi Murders Video from Freedom Bridge to Delphi Cemetery. So you can imagine what I'm doing right after this live stream. Getting in pajamas, making hot chocolate, because, you know, I'm in the Netherlands, so it's 11 o'clock at night for me. And I'm going to be watching that. So thank you so much to Hoosier Cold Cases for letting me show those videos. They were so good. Go watch the whole video. I didn't even go. You saw the one is 29 minutes and the one is 24 minutes and 35. I couldn't show you the whole thing. So go check out the whole video from start to finish yourself. That'll be amazing. Thank you, Foggy Morn, for the support. I really, really appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Today, as I say, we went over the presentation. If you missed it, go check out the replay. I'm just going to show you one more time quickly here. The profile of a budding serial killer based on criminal profiler John Kelly and his Stalk Incorporated team's insight from 2020, 2 years before Richard Allen was arrested. So if you want to see this bullet point presentation and everything that they said from all the videos that I watched and put into bullet points of all the important things, check this out. Also go check out Profiler John Kelly's channel, which we've been sharing the links throughout, and it's also in the description box for you. We looked at that. We looked at why the probable cause affidavit is still sealed, what could be the legal reason, and there's a hearing on November 22nd, which we'll keep an eye on. What happens from that? Will it be unsealed? If so, that's going to be an interesting read. Oh my word. Thank you so much to everyone, all the viewers. Thank you for liking the video. Let me check. Let me check. How many people liked the video? Not too bad. Thank you for liking the video. Thank you for sharing it. It really helps the channel out a lot. It helps the case out a lot. If you share it, hashtag Delphi, hashtag Abby and Libby, hashtag Justice for Abby and Libby. That would be awesome. Thank you so much to the mods. If you are a member, remember, go to the community tab right after this. and go see the link. Don't share the link anywhere because patrons and YouTube members share that one link from Sunday's stream where I took you to a very special light show. So go check that out. Okay. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. It was really beautiful. And what else? Yes, patrons, I still owe you a video from putting all that footage together. If you want to get yourself a Grizzly notebook, you can. It's all on Amazon. All my links are on grizzlytruecrime.com. All the links. Ways to support me, where to buy the merch, grizzlymerch.com, all the stuff. So if you want to do that, get yourself a Grizzly cap and all that, you can. Nice to see you, Jill. So nice to see you here. Wild Mountain Time says, just got in, so I'll watch the replay. Thanks so much, Gisela. You do great work. Thank you so much. And also, thank you to everyone who buys those super thanks. It's like a little heart that you find next to the like and share button. Thank you for doing that. Sometimes it takes me a little bit of time. I have to remember to be like, oh, yeah, let me check those. So thank you so much to everyone who does that. I will reply to your comment if you do that because I can filter for them quite easily. JW says, Grizzlies are wonderful. If I missed your question or anything like that, leave it in the comments below. I'll do my best to get to it. Leave your comments anyway, whatever you think about this episode and all the others. And please check out the Delphi playlist that I have for you, as well as the Flora Fire case. Thank you so much. I'm very excited. Tomorrow I'm going to be having a call. This is waffle time. Members know, OGs know. And let me say in waffle time, I will be designing some holiday merch for you soon. Tomorrow I'm having a call with someone who knows Delphi and the community really well. And if there's anything I can share with you from the call, if there's anything I learn or that I can share, you know I will. So I'm very excited for that as well. Wishing you a wonderful evening ahead, everyone, whatever time it is for you, new week. And check out the community tab for any other updates on things that I'm not necessarily talking about here on the live stream. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. And see you again. Yeah, Lex, sorry. Wait, can you start over? Wait, you must say hi. I just got here. Can you start over? If you don't know what I'm talking about, go see my second channel. It's called G&T, and it's the place I vent with troll comments. So go check me out over there reenacting troll comments. All right, everyone, stay safe, and I'll see you again very soon. I'm here almost every single day. I'll see you very soon. Bye.